All right, I'm gonna jump right in here.
Okay.
Let's start with the obvious Chara in the room. I think this is not an alternate timeline, despite what Toby says. I've learned to take what these indie developers say, like with a grain of salt, like Scott Cawthon saying, "Oh, it's good. FNAF 6 or 5 may never be coming. I've canceled the game."
Yeah.
And
One
then 3 weeks later, guess
right.
what?
And one thing you told me when we were playing Undertale is that you said Toby Fox said he was never going to make a sequel or anything related to Undertale, right?
Right.
And here we
So,
are.
and here we are. So, here's the thing I've learned to do is take these things with a grain of salt. So, I think that this game does have a direct connection to Undertale. I think that this is a sequel, that this does take place after they all escape the underground.
Which would make
I-
sense.
right. And I think this is the sequel. The canon ending to Undertale is the soulless pacifist run, meaning after you complete a genocide run,
Oh, and you go back and
you go
complete
back and
pacifist.
you do a pacifist run. I don't know if you know this, Chris, but the
Yeah.
ending is different.
Yeah, it's something where
Um,
like Char like puts X's over your characters' faces or something.
all the characters' faces except for her, and Frisk has been replaced with Chara.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting.
And then if you stay with Toriel, after she tucks you in and I think leaves another slice of pie in the room or something like that,
Yeah.
you see Frisk wake up,
Uh,
glow the red. Sorry, no, you see Chara wake up in Frisk's place,
mm.
have the red eyes glow, and then you hear that,
Jeez.
which is the murderous laugh that characters like Flowey and Chara will unleash.
Yes, I do remember that.
So what I'm thinking here, and one of the things that makes me believe this is that when you complete your genocide run, one of the things that Chara says is, "Let's move on from this world and on to the next."
True.
So what I'm thinking here is that it could be an alternate timeline.
Seems kind of lazy
Where-
though.
Well, hold on. It could be an alternate timeline, but it's where Chara has basically taken over and moved on from the world of Undertale to Deltarune.
Right.
Because she specifically says, "Let's move on from this pointless world and on to the next."
It's
So that's
interesting,
why
though, because if we talk to Sans, Sans says, "Oh, we've never met before," but if you were that
because-
character, then wouldn't he know Frisk and Chara?
Right, that's the thing. He would know Frisk, but Sans does not know Chara.
Well, he would know her if he was in the genocide run, which you had to do in order to get that ending.
Right, but you're still Frisk. That's Frisk's body that Chara is possessing. What Sans sees is Sans sees Frisk at all times.
But I can counter that, because if you play genocide and you kill everybody in the ruins, remember Sans says, "Hey, my brother would really like to catch a human, so would you mind pretending to be one?" True?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but he's referring to the fact that Frisk is clearly not human. He's not human because he's not acting like one. He's mercilessly killing everyone. A human being doesn't do that. So that's what that's in regards to. So that's my theory. I think that this is a possible, what happens when Chara moves from one world to the next. And the reason why I know Sans doesn't know who Chara is because Chara died years before Sans was born.
Could be.
Or even brought into existence, because that's back in the days of Gaster.
Right. And by the way, we should mention the characters that were in Undertale but not in this game. And that would include Flowey, right? Which would make sense because Azrael is still alive, right?
Right.
Spoiler alert, by the way. Shouldn't be watching this if you haven't played Undertale. And then you have Gaster, who really wasn't in Undertale 1. Like, he kind of was, if you got lucky or you went out of your way. But he wasn't in this game either. And then you have Frisk or Chara, who both kind of aren't directly mentioned by their name in this game. Instead, you have Chris, right, who is this new character.
And that's clearly Chara.
Right.
I mean, the knife is there, the red eyes are there.
So the thing is, if you take the first letter of Chara, and then like the next the second, third, and fourth letter of Frisk and put that together, you get Chris, with a C, not a K. But so maybe maybe Toby Fox is trying to say this is, you know, a combination of Frisk and Chara, you know. So that would actually fit into your theory that
and
you know.
yeah, that would, because what did Chris just do? She literally, what Chara did was they reached in, took Frisk's soul, ripped it out, threw it in a cage.
Yeah, that's what happened right here.
Yeah, and that's, so now the being that is Chris is now split into Frisk's soul, cage, and Chara.
And it's actually interesting because you know, I think what we're gonna see in Chapter 2, maybe, in Chapter 2 gameplay, is that what happens at nighttime is this happens, that you know, Chara wakes up and takes Frisk out of her body, and then you play as Chara and do genocide stuff. Because if you remember, when we played in Chapter 1, we were forced into doing pacifist, right? Because Frisk was in control. But at this point, we got the knife, we got no soul, so all hell's about to break loose.
Yeah.
By the way, something I noticed, when you start the game, I went back to our first video, and I checked. So you remember when you start in this room, and it's, you know, you can interact with all the things in the room, and the cage and the wagon were still there. And I went back to our first video, and I went to the spot where you click on the wagon, and what it says is, it's a rusty bird cage with a wagon. Looks like it's seen quite a few crashes. So it's implying that this thing has seen some damage. So it's been out in the, you know, in the world before. So I'm not sure. Okay. Do you think she, like, the Chara takes the wagon with her when she goes out?
That could very well be the case.
This is so weird.
Yeah, it is really weird. It's also really concerning, the fact that Chara is able to move around like this at night.
Yes.
I mean, what if I mean, let's say hypothetically this is the first time this happens. All right, this is the first incident of this happening. Something about going to the underground kingdom having something to do with Chara reawakening. People are going to die up here.
Right.
For all we know, she could walk out.
And this is such a nice town, too.
I know, and she'll make it go empty, and that's the part that terrifies me. Now, obviously staying focused on Chara here for a moment, the lyrics to the song say...
Muted, of course.
The shadows start to grow, and the places that you know seem like fantasy, so...
Well, that seems like they're talking about the Dark World, actually.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
There's a light inside your soul.
Okay, so that's Frisk.
That's still shining in the cold. With the truth, the promise in our hearts. Now stop here, pause here. What promise are we talking about? Because I'm thinking the promise is you will give me your soul, and I will reset this world.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the other promise was
I forgot about that.
The other promise that it could be leading to would be Azrael, the promise between Chara and Azrael, that they would be together forever.
No, but I think it's the first one.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's the contract.
I completely forgot about that.
This song has a really... And hold on, and then take a look at the next line. Don't forget, I'm with you in the dark.
Which it was dark when she came out.
Right. I'm thinking that the singer of this song is actually Chara. Because remember, Chara doesn't view killing as a bad thing. It's not a dark and spooky thing for her. It's normal. Whenever you were about to kill a monster, you'd see a smiley face above Frisk's head. So this serene, happy song, I think it has there's a deeper meaning here. And I'm really seriously thinking that the singer is Chara, and it's her basically reminding you that she's with you at all times,
whether you like it or not.
You're never going to escape her.
Dude, I totally forgot about this part where you have to give your soul to her at the end of your genocide run.
If you want to reset,
that would make sense.
Yeah, if you want to reset the game, we planned it. The only way to do so is to basically, give your soul to Chara.
All right.
Yeah.
So, let's see. So, earlier we had a note that says, "Who is C?" Where did we see that again?
Asgore.
Asgore. Oh, yeah, that was the landlord or
Landlord.
whatever.
Right. So who is C? The only character whose name starts with C is Chara, but I don't think that Asgore would be leasing an apartment out from a genocidal maniac.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. I guess that's a question I can't really answer either.
Yeah, I don't think we have enough.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait on that. Let's see, what else do I have here? So let's talk about the opening. So you remember when we first started the game? It
Yeah.
was just a very ominous, like, dark setting where someone was talking to us. You know, it was like someone trying to connect with us as the player, right?
I'm still 150% convinced that was Gaster.
Right. Now, I had watched, like, some other people. I'm trying to remember the exact name of the channel. I'm sure if you, like, look on YouTube, you can, I'll see the name. I want to give him credit. And it was, yeah, Swanky Box. Something like that. So one of his videos, he talked about how, you know, because when you're making your character in the beginning, everything is gray, right? It's a lot like in Undertale when you had those gray Gaster followers, you know, that would be scattered around the world randomly.
Right, and only appearing in certain fun. Correct.
Right. And another thing that, you know, he talked about in his video was that if you try to make a cell phone call in the darkness, and then you'll hear this this weird, like, tone, right? Apparently it's the same type of static that happens when you go by that weird spot in the woods with the door that's locked.
Oh, the...
Yeah, so there's the same type of music that plays when you make a cell phone call in the dark world, or when you're by that place in the woods with the locked door.
Yeah, music tells you a lot in these games. Like, for example, did I ever tell you this? You remember the genocide theme, right?
Yes.
And if you speed it up 12,000%, what happens, right?
No, I don't remember that.
Oh shit! I never told you this. Oh, this is fucking mind blowing. Okay, go play the genocide theme.
Oh, wait,
Okay.
wait, hold on. Just let me correct myself here. So, it wasn't Gaster's theme. It was when, you know, in Undertale, when you get the 17th lab note, where it's just wingding text from Gaster.
Yeah.
So, while that's playing, like, every character in Undertale has a voice when their, you know, dialogue scrolls, and Gaster has this weird, like, staticky voice, right? It's that's the sound you hear. So if you put on your phone and listen to this, I'll play it. You can hear the audio. You ready?
Hold on, let me boot it up.
Alright, I'll redo it.
Hang on.
And this is going shout out to the Beer Baron on YouTube.
Okay, I'm good.
And yeah, that's the audio from Undertale. Yeah.
That.
So yeah, you get that sound when you're by the locked door, and also when you make a cell phone call from the dark world. Another thing about the intro, and a constant theme throughout this game, is that our choices don't matter.
Yeah.
So we try to make a character, and it doesn't let us choose. We try to do a genocide run in the dark world, and it won't let us do it. We have to do pacifist, or else the monsters just run away. It's like someone's forcing us to do a certain path, you know?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, maybe that's why Toby said there aren't going to be multiple endings.
Right.
Everything is always going to be the same, regardless of what you do.
So this is my opinion. Okay.
But at the same time, I got a different ending in playthrough.
That's true.
I was telling you about that.
Yeah, that's actually true. So there's an exception to the rule in some sense.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so much that we don't know.
Yeah.
So much that I can't explain.
So I don't know. How did we get into the dark world? It's almost like Gaster was. I would say he's related to that somehow, because we hear his theme if you're trying to make a phone call. And how much power does he have in this world?
Gaster's a scientist, correct?
Yes.
This is another thing I was playing with, and I think this is far-fetched, and it may not be 100%. But let's say, hypothetically, this is all a simulation.
Dude, this is exactly what I was thinking. Because it's like a recreation of Undertale but there's only one character that's real, and it's being forced to go through it, and that's Frisk or Chara or Chris, whoever you want to call it. You know,
it's Chris, right? And what I'm thinking here is that Gaster has this, and again, this is just one of my many theories that I have. Gaster takes Frisk and Chara post-genocide, okay? And he sort of takes them and puts them in a stasis tube and forces them to go through this simulation for whatever his purposes are. Because the thing I know about Gaster is that his message says darker, darker, darker still.
Right.
And when you commit genocide and you destroy the world, what is left other than darkness, darkness, and just darker still?
Right. Interesting.
What if doing that brings you to Gaster, and then Gaster gets his hands on you, and he does what he basically does this, and what you're witnessing now is sort of what he's making you see.
Right. So your perspective is that it's after that somehow Gaster's able to do this after Undertale. I was thinking that this could even be while Gaster was still the scientist in Undertale, and this is his experiment that caused the big explosion that ended his life.
That could be it.
So it's maybe it was Chara, right? And Chara was in Undertale, and because she was so destructive, he took Chara and wanted to try to condition her and to make her good. So he made an experiment where he could simulate different types of worlds that could try to make Chara into a good person. You know?
And stop the genocide from the...
Yeah, because in this game, you don't really have a choice. You have to be a pacifist, and then it kind of blows up in the end when Chara can't take anymore and just rips her soul out, you know?
Interesting.
Because if you think about it, the whole game, most of the game you play in the Dark World is just a simulation, which, if the sound gives us any clue, is run by Gaster.
That's fascinating, because the thing is that if there's one thing I like Chara can beat Sans, Chara, and destroy a world. Chara is a force that cannot be contained. And such things could be seen by her literally ripping the soul out and throwing it in the cage.
Yeah, pretty brutal.
Oh god, there's so much speculation, and it's so good.
I got one more bit of icing for the cake, and that is that I think Gaster possibly could be putting in, like, you know how, like, if you're an artist, you might put cameos into your work of yourself, like, you know, Hitchcock used to put himself in his own movies sometimes.
Oh, all the time, yeah.
Right. So maybe Garrison Boom is like some kind of, you know, alias for Gaster himself.
Who's Garrison Boom?
Garrison Boom is, you know, the historian, scientist, and teacher that you see throughout the game in different books, or like the park. And the reason I say that is because if you look at Gaster and Garrison, the names are very similar. They're the same number of letters. And then if you look at his last name, which is Boom, it's like, you know, how Gaster's existence ended when his experiment exploded.
An explosion, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's interesting, and I don't think we have enough to, like, say for sure, but I think it's definitely interesting to say, you know, that we could be in Gaster's simulation in this game. And he recreated all the characters from the real world in the simulation.
And the thing is, that's a good point. The park bench said, some of my best ideas came to me while I was dreaming. And some of my best ideas came to me while I was dreaming. If anyone asks what you're doing while you're napping, tell them you're writing. So what if, I mean, that could, dude, that's genius.
Yeah.
Because that could very well be the case.
Yeah, a lot of stuff here.
I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. But it's like,
yeah, it's mind-blowing.
It's mind-blowing. That Garrison person, like, researcher, scientist, Yeah, no, it very well could be a direct
Dude,
reference to Gaster.
imagine if the way Deltarune ends is like you get to the end of the simulation and you break out and you fight Gaster or something, and then that is the moment when Gaster, he blows himself up in his experiment, and Chara is unleashed in the world of Undertale.
That's a good point. And we see Sans, but we don't see Papyrus. And what if Sans, and we know Sans comes into creation after Gaster's gone. What if Sans comes from the and Papyrus come from the simulation?
Yeah, that was one of the game theory things, right? Was that Sans and Papyrus are from Gaster?
No, I don't see. I don't think that there are two halves of Gaster.
Okay.
Gaster, because part of that theory relies on the fact that Gaster's a skeleton, and Sans and Papyrus are both skeletons. But Gaster, to me, doesn't look anything like a skeleton. Gaster, his name is Gaster, as in Gast, as in ghost.
Yeah, true.
He looks like a phantom. I mean, his face looks like almost like the two masks, comedy and tragedy, put together.
Right. Anyway, there's tons of theories. This was our little discussion about what we saw in Deltarune. And if you want to comment on what we said or have any input you want to add on to what we talked about, let us know in the comments down below. And if you want, we could do a quick review. I wrote down some quick points here. I'll just go over them real quick, and then you could say something. So my review of Deltarune is the combat system. It's awesome. It's better than Undertale. Needs a little bit of work with respect to everybody guarding and this and that, but otherwise really cool. What do you think of combat system?
I like the combat system. I honestly wouldn't change too much about it.
Yep, a lot of potential. Graphics, mostly really good. There's a couple spots where it was a little lazy, like with that card guy, Roxas card, where it was just like doodles. But I understand he wanted to get the game out.
Well, that, and I think it was just an artistic choice. I really don't think that had anything to do with this.
I have here the music. I think the music is one of the best parts of this game.
Duh.
Toby Fox is great. It's really cool that he can be such an artist and creative and also be a musician and compose stuff like that. Dude, I've had just the battle theme stuck in my head. I wouldn't say it's on the same level as Megalovania, but it's up there with some of the best gaming music. Anyway, so
yeah,
that wraps up our playthrough and our live stream. We've been doing a lot of live streams lately, but going forward, probably have less, unless we want to play some old games.
We kind of just wanted to do this because it got out. Urgent. But we're going to return to your regularly programmed retro-y goodness where I suffer at the hands of
more Donkey Kong. All right, everybody.
Dude, I'm not looking forward to that.
Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.